In the heart of a forgotten landscape, where the mist clings to the earth like a shroud, there lies a set of ancient, abandoned railway tracks. These tracks, concealed by overgrowth and the relentless passage of time, hold a secret known only to a few, a secret of a ghostly train that appears as a specter in the night, carrying with it tales of sorrow, mystery, and the supernatural. This is the story of the Phantom Train, a journey into the unknown that begins on a cold, moonless night. As the clock struck midnight, Ethan, a young, ambitious writer with a penchant for the paranormal, found himself standing at the edge of the forgotten tracks. He had heard the legends, whispers of a phantom train that emerged from the depths of nowhere, beckoning the curious and the brave to uncover its mysteries. Armed with nothing but his notebook and a lantern, Ethan stepped onto the tracks, the gravel crunching beneath his feet. As he began his descent into the abyss of the unknown, the air was thick with fog, and the silence was broken only by the distant howl of the wind. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine, not from the cold, but from the anticipation of what was to come. He had walked what felt like miles when suddenly, a faint, eerie whistle pierced the silence, sending a wave of fear through his heart. The sound grew louder, and out of the fog emerged the phantom train, its ancient engine glowing with a ghostly light, its wheels screeching against the rusted tracks. Without a moment's hesitation, Ethan stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest as the train came to a halt before him. The doors creaked open, revealing an interior that defied time itself. The carriages were adorned with plush, velvet seats, and dim, flickering lights that cast eerie shadows on the walls. But what caught Ethan's attention were the passengers, ghostly figures clothed in attire from centuries past, their faces pale and their eyes hollow, each with their own story of unfulfilled destinies and eternal wanderings. As the train began its journey into the night, Ethan realized he was not merely a passenger but a witness to the tales of those who had once boarded the train with hopes and dreams, only to become prisoners of its endless voyage. Each ghostly passenger shared their story with Ethan, tales of love lost, of battles fought in vain, of lives cut short by tragedy. With every story, Ethan felt the weight of their sorrows, the train becoming a vessel not just of bodies, but of lost souls seeking redemption or release. As the night waned, the train plunged into a realm where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred. Ethereal figures danced in the mist outside the windows, ancient ruins passed by, untouched by time, and the very fabric of reality seemed to warp and twist. Ethan realized that the train was not bound by the physical world but traveled through the cracks of the unseen, the spaces between shadows. Suddenly, the train screeched to a halt, and Ethan found himself standing once again on the abandoned tracks, the phantom train vanishing into the mist as quickly as it had appeared. The night was silent once more, but the air was no longer cold. Ethan looked down at his notebook, now filled with the stories of the passengers, their tales etched into the pages as if by an unseen hand. As dawn broke, Ethan walked back to the world of the living, forever changed by his journey on the phantom train. He knew that the stories he carried were not just ghostly tales but reminders of the thin veil between life and death, of the souls that linger in the shadows, waiting for their stories to be told. And so, the legend of the phantom train lives on, a ghostly reminder of the mysteries that lie beyond the veil, waiting for the next curious soul to brave its ghostly journey on the abandoned tracks. In the days that followed, Ethan struggled with the reality of what he had experienced. The memories of the ghostly train and its spectral passengers haunted his waking hours and infiltrated his dreams. He became obsessed with the idea that he had been chosen for a reason, that his journey on the phantom train was not just a chance encounter but a call to action. Determined to understand the purpose behind his eerie voyage, Ethan began to research the history of the abandoned tracks and the train that traversed them. He delved into old archives, dusty books, and forgotten tales, each piece of information revealing a fragment of the train's mysterious past. He learned of a tragic accident that had occurred a century ago, where a train had derailed on those very tracks, claiming the lives of all on board. The incident had been shrouded in mystery and speculation, with survivors speaking of seeing figures in the mist and hearing whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. Ethan's research led him to an old, secluded village where the descendants of those who had perished in the accident still lived. Here, he found that the legend of the phantom train was not just a tale to scare children, but a deeply ingrained part of the villagers' history and culture. They spoke of the train as a purgatory for lost souls, a way for the dead to seek closure and for the living to come to terms with their grief and loss. It was in this village that Ethan met an elderly woman, Miriam, who claimed to have seen the phantom train herself as a young girl. She shared with Ethan a tale of her lover, who had been aboard the ill-fated train a century ago, and how she had waited every night at the tracks for his return. One night, the train did appear, and she saw her lover one last time, his ghostly figure reaching out to her from a carriage window, his eyes filled with both love and sorrow. It was then that she understood that the train was a messenger between the worlds of the living and the dead, a chance for farewells that had never been said, for love that never died. Emboldened by Miriam's story, Ethan realized that his own encounter with the phantom train was a gift, a chance to bring solace to those haunted by loss and to bridge the gap between the past and the present. He began to write, not just of his own experiences, but of the stories of the passengers he had met, of Miriam's undying love, and of the train that carried the souls of the departed. Ethan's writings were published, and the story of the phantom train captured the imagination of the world. People from all walks of life were drawn to the abandoned tracks, seeking answers, closure, or simply the thrill of encountering the supernatural. But to Ethan, the tracks had become a sacred place, a thin line between two worlds where the living could touch the ethereal and the dead could find peace. Years passed, and Ethan's name became synonymous with the phantom train. He continued to visit the tracks, always at midnight, always alone. Some nights, the train would appear, and he would board it once again, each journey revealing new stories, new sorrows, and new hope. Ethan came to understand that the phantom train was more than just a ghostly legend. It was a symbol of humanity's enduring spirit, of the love and loss that bind us all, of the journey we must all take into the unknown. And though he grew old, his belief in the power of the train and its stories never waned. For in the end, Ethan knew that the phantom train would one day come for him, not as a specter of death, but as a final voyage to the great beyond, where all stories find their end and all souls find their home. In the heart of a forgotten valley, shrouded by the thick mists of time, lies the Manor of Lost Voices. It stands as a monolith of ancient sorrows, its dark silhouette piercing the horizon like a dire warning. Once a majestic abode, it now languishes under the weight of untold stories, its walls echoing with the whispers of the past. Jonathan Avery, a writer with an insatiable appetite for the supernatural, had heard tales of the Manor's eerie allure. Seeking inspiration for his next novel, he ventured into the valley, guided only by the dim light of the crescent moon and the haunting stories that fueled his curiosity. As he approached, the Manor's imposing structure loomed over him, its windows like blind eyes watching his every move. The air was thick with an unspoken warning, yet an inexplicable force pulled him toward the front door. It creaked open with a mournful sigh, as if the house itself breathed a reluctant invitation. Inside, the Manor was a labyrinth of shadowy corridors and grand, yet decrepit, rooms, each holding the promise of hidden secrets. Jonathan felt a chilling breath of air as he wandered, the silence so profound that even his footsteps seemed sacrilegious. Suddenly, he heard it, a whisper, soft and fleeting, like the caress of unseen fingers across his ear. It beckoned him deeper into the Manor's heart, where the veil between the living and the dead grew perilously thin. In the library, where books lay coated in dust, untouched by time, the whispers grew into voices. They spoke of tragedies long past, of lives cut short by betrayal and greed. The air pulsed with the energy of spirits unable to find rest, their stories intertwining in an ethereal lament. Driven by a desire to understand the Manor's mysteries, Jonathan found an ancient seance room, its tables set with a velvet cloth, candles, and a tarnished silver planchette. As he initiated the ritual, the candles flickered as if in protest, and the room filled with the oppressive weight of expectant silence. The planchette moved, guided by invisible hands, spelling out messages from the beyond. "Beware," it warned, as the temperature plummeted, breath visible in the air. Shadows danced along the walls, forming shapes that were human in form but tortured in essence. The voices crescendoed into a cacophony, each demanding acknowledgement of their pain and suffering. Jonathan, his mind teetering on the brink of madness, was drawn to the cellar, the Manor's dark heart. Here, the cause of the haunting became horrifyingly clear. The cellar was a charnel house, its foundations laid upon an ancient burial site, the final resting place of those betrayed by the Manor's lord, their bodies hidden beneath the earth but their spirits forever bound to the surface. Among the shadows, he glimpsed figures, their outlines blurred but their despair unmistakably human. They reached out to him, their voices merging into a singular plea for release. In the center of this sorrowful gathering, a darker presence lurked, its essence so malevolent that the other spirits seemed to cower in its wake. Understanding that the spirit's torment was anchored to the physical world by their unavenged injustices, Jonathan embarked on a quest to set them free. With each act of restitution, a spirit would find peace, their voice fading into the ether until only the dark presence remained. That it was the lord of the manor, cursed to witness the suffering he had caused, bound to the site of his unforgivable sins. In a final act of defiance, Jonathan unearthed the Lord's hidden confession, bringing his crimes to light. With the truth revealed, the dark spirit's hold weakened, and it was banished into the abyss, the Manor shuddering as if releasing a long-held breath. As dawn broke, the Manor of Lost Voices stood silent, its curse lifted. Jonathan exited the Manor as the sun's first rays pierced the valley's mist, the oppressive atmosphere replaced by a serene calm. Though he left the Manor behind, the stories of those he had helped release would forever haunt his dreams, a reminder of the thin veil that separates sorrow from salvation. In the end, the Manor's legacy was not one of fear, but of liberation, a testament to the power of acknowledging the past, no matter how dark, and the redemption that comes with giving voice to those who had been silenced. And though Jonathan continued his journey, the echoes of the Manor's lost voices lingered, a ghostly chorus bearing witness to the darkness and light that reside in the human soul. Though Jonathan had left the Manor of Lost Voices behind, its whispers clung to him like a shadow. The world outside seemed too bright, too loud, yet devoid of the depth and mystery that the Manor held within its crumbling walls. His nights were filled with dreams of the spirits he had encountered, their voices now a haunting lullaby that spoke of unfinished business. Compelled by an invisible thread, Jonathan found himself returning to the valley, drawn back to the Manor as if it had become a part of him. The house, now silent, seemed to greet him like an old friend, its door creaking open with a familiarity that sent shivers down his spine. As he stepped inside, Jonathan realized that the Manor was not as he had left it. There was a new energy, a sense of something watching, waiting. The air was charged with anticipation, and the silence felt like the calm before a storm. Deep within the bowels of the house, something had awakened, a presence that had lain dormant, hidden even from the spirits he had freed. This entity, the unseen warden of the Manor's secrets, had observed Jonathan's previous endeavors. It was neither benevolent nor malevolent but existed to guard the threshold between worlds, ensuring that the balance was maintained. Jonathan had upset this balance, and now, the warden sought to restore it. Jonathan was led by an unseen force to a room he had not discovered during his first visit. It was a chamber untouched by time, its walls lined with ancient tomes and artifacts that pulsed with arcane energy. Here, the guardian of the Manor revealed itself, not as a specter, but as an amalgamation of all the lives that had passed through the Manor's doors, a keeper of stories both dark and light. The guardian spoke, its voice a chorus of echoes. To leave a lasting peace, you must understand the full extent of what this place holds. Not just its sorrows, but its wisdom. Jonathan was to be tested, challenged to delve deeper into the mysteries of the Manor and himself. The trials set before Jonathan were not of physical strength but of mind and spirit. He was to unlock the deepest chambers of the Manor, each room revealing a fragment of the Guardian's knowledge, stories that spanned centuries, from the profound to the profane. With each revelation, Jonathan's understanding of the supernatural realm expanded, his perception altered in ways he could never have imagined. He encountered spirits not yet at rest, their tales not of suffering but of lessons unlearned. These were not souls to be freed through actions but through understanding, their stories a mirror reflecting the complexities of human nature and the unseen forces that shape our destinies. The last chamber held the essence of the manor itself, its spirit made manifest by the Guardian. Here, Jonathan faced the ultimate truth, that the manor was a crucible for the human soul, a place where light and darkness met and transformed. The manor's true purpose was not to be a prison for the lost, but a bridge between the seen and unseen, a place of passage and transformation. To restore balance, Jonathan had to accept his role not as a liberator of spirits but as a guardian of their stories, a keeper of the threshold between life and death. With this acceptance, the manor's secrets were laid bare, and the Guardian bestowed upon him the final key, a deeper understanding of the unseen world and his place within it. Jonathan Avery emerged from the Manor of Lost Voices transformed. He had entered seeking stories, but he left with wisdom, a profound connection to the unseen world that would guide him in his writings and beyond. The manor stood silent once more, its presence a beacon for those who sought to understand the mysteries of life and death. The valley, once forgotten, became a place of pilgrimage for those drawn to the supernatural, seeking the manor's wisdom. And Jonathan, now its guardian in spirit, continued to share the tales of the manor, a bridge between worlds, ensuring that the voices of the past would never be lost again. In the heart of the valley, the Manor of Lost Voices stood as a testament to the power of stories, the echoes of its inhabitants a reminder that within every shadow lies a story waiting to be told.